My question to you is, how you know Art Student League? In what year you start working in Art Student League?
I actually didn't start working on Students League. I did 2 summer classes when I was in college. That was Art Students League. But mostly I worked at Brooklyn Museum Art School, which is gone now. Boulder.
How old you are in this time?
Well, I was maybe 19.
19. You are very young in this time.
At that time, it was a very young time. Lots of kids in the room, our Students League drawing room. There were like 80 people. Mostly all young people.
You relating in this time the art and literature.
Yes.
Example, the influence the Orson Welles, the influence the different famous filmmakers.
It's true too, because that time was a film revolution, new wave in France and the United States also, experimental films. But well, people like me, was very important to get into something that we felt was like a respectable literary in terms of realism. So we were interested in German expressionism, Käthe Kollwitz, and German painting because it's very psychological.
And this, yeah, exactly, because always the art is associated with the literature and influence the famous novels to put in the films. Hitchcock, you remember Hitchcock to influence filmmakers and
Film was very important because we knew something really major was happening and we wanted to see it and experience it. You know, it was like we were lucky. And also literature was very important to us because it was telling us how to live. These are all younger people. Older people had the experience of the war, and they had a kind of a different outlook. This school, our Students League, was really put into business to educate the war veterans so they could go out and get good jobs. And so it was very inexpensive, and the government was paying the tuition, so you could get English. Government paid your college.
one research about the influence the art, literature, and try to help quality of life of people. And now start many studies about the literatures, about the writers, about the artistic activity help in his life.
Of course, yeah.
How you think about this? Art really help to people try it better life, try it influencing this?
Well, you know, people made choices. They tried this, they tried the other thing, and something became more important to them. And especially if their experience was like a lot of young men came home from the war. Yeah. And they couldn't fit back in to society because they were changed so much by the war. The things they saw, the things they did. They were our parents' generation. So all of our fathers went to war. And of course, it was huge. You know, this was a huge country, and they wanted to show what they could do. They knew they had to fight to stop people like Hitler. That was very important because whatever else the politics were, Hitler, you know, was evil, and there was a lot of hatred, a lot of racism. There was going on too. And I remember when suddenly they had demonstrations starting. Nobody thought about that. One day nobody thought about it. The next day everybody was thinking about it. They knew something had to be done.
The influence in the society has a message, has a social. You think the art have influence in this way?
I think art has an influence right now because it's very important for many people to make visible on the walls of a gallery or some museum history that they had as minorities and histories which we as a culture have basically been not acknowledging. Now everybody's jumping in and we see a lot more people of color in every area not women, not people, in every area. And this seems to be like the kind of change, some kind of change that happened when I was young. With the war or other things that I do. A lot of times people wanted to go away to a different country. And to live in that different country, they go to Paris. They would work in between the wars, the two world wars. People were filling in Paris. They didn't stay in the United States.
Right.
They were starting to go all over the world. When I was a freshman, first year in college, I went to Columbia, which was a very, it was not an easy college. They were pushing you pretty hard and giving you a little hard time too. I remember seeing a film by John Godard, Breathless, it was called. And I followed that film. I thought I was in it. And Godard, who made the film, was doing something that was about classical art, which is funny because at that point, when I was 17 years old, I didn't even know what the hell classical art was. But I was already responding. And I remember riding back with a couple of my friends, and they said, "Oh, that film Breathless is not so great." You know? And we went back to college, and I said, "What are you talking about? That film is a classic. This guy is amazing." And of course, he became maybe one of the most influential filmmakers. And I was into everything, like Japanese film, whatever I could see, I would see, because I was in with people who were writing about films.
And the influence, the French movie, then Truffaut, yeah, and take his films are sociology, they analyze and transform influence in the society, the reality of the films. And this is the other people can try the same system in United States, because United States go with different social problems and many filmmakers try it.
American filmmakers don't have the same feeling for film, or Godard, or
Godard, absolutely.
Truffaut. They all have a very good idea, a very strong idea of what the art of making films is and how it should be done. And in our country, we have, a lot of different people with very different ideas. Sam Peckinpah, all kinds of people who don't really hang together. Orson Welles.
Orson Welles, yeah, absolutely. And this more in United States influence the French filmmakers or Italian. Mastroianni, Vittorio De Sica, this Antonioni.
Very good. I remember sitting through Twitter twice.
Oh,
I thought it was so good.
what happened? What happened this?
Oh, we would sit sometimes for 6 hours in a movie theater and watch the film over and over again, try to understand it. And of course, Kurosawa was maybe my favorite film. I didn't understand American films until sometime later with my own, but outside country, I could see what these guys were doing.
Yeah, the classic films influence. What do you think about the Western films?
John Ford. Yeah, I think that's very American filmmaking.
Yeah, but when the Western films try, one series is in United States and the other part, the series is in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this influence and they change the visual, example in photography, is new expression and the music with
it's Italian, and it's really good.
Extraordinary always.
But, I was into people like Hitchcock. We had a filmmaker society at Columbia, and Hitchcock was kind of like the guy of choice. And I remember Brian De Palma, who was in the film. He did the titles for what is that film? The first one of the crazy films with
the
forget it. We will come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway,
Seacos is the, Scorsese.
Scorsese was big because of the New York school filmmaking.
Yeah.
And he was a very important guy.
And what about Woody Allen?
Mhm.
It's more other new generation in this time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, what you saw was a lot of changes happening, and Godard made that first film of Breathless, and he tried to do tracking shots, and he wound up in a wheelchair. His cameraman was in a wheelchair, and he pushed him along, and that's how he got his tracking shots. So because if he laid tracks, it'd be way too expensive. But the thing that really got to me is that when I saw that movie, I had no ideas about Breathless, Godard, and I walked out of that theater and said, "Wow, I hit the new way. I'm really there ahead of whatever else is happening. This moment, I can see what's going to happen." And that made me think about art in a different way. So something you have to produce.
Yeah.
It's not something that you just simply sit back and let some other people talk about. So for instance, Touch Your Leader, movies like what's amazing to me. And I know exactly what he was talking about, why he was doing it. I also knew that I didn't want to have to deal with a whole bunch of other people who were saying, "No, I want you to stand up here." I don't want that. So I went into sculpture because nobody could tell me what to do in sculpture because they didn't understand what I was doing in the first place. So they
Wow.
couldn't sit there and tell me what to do.
Yeah, and you have 18 years old. This is impressive. And
David Merrick was the guy who produced all the Broadway plays back in the 60s. And Merrick took a look at me. I look like I do now. And he said to me, "I can't use you. I can't send you looking like that to see somebody I don't know, famous director."
Why?
Because he didn't want this kid coming around and making him look bad.
Oh.
So everybody was kind of looking at, later for you. You have to prove yourself to us. And so I went from one place to another.
But are you interested as an actor too, or working in the Broadway?
I didn't want to. I never liked theater in that way because it was so, the emotion was so raw.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that in theater. If you're doing something, you're feeling it. You're making other people feel it. And I didn't want to get into that labeling. I wanted to have my own thing going. So I worked with a Japanese woodcarver. He was a brilliant technician.
Oh.
And he taught me just a little bit. He didn't want to teach me too much because he wanted to see people naturally. And so he taught me how to sharpen the tools and would criticize the other. That was always very